The collaboration conversation is brought to you by Project Brickworks, the new ministry dedicated to equipping Christians to use their talents and gifts to bring others into a relationship with King Jesus. Project Brickworks is a crowd-funded nonprofit ministry made possible by generous folks like you, and we are so very grateful. We created the collaboration conversation as a way for Christians to share about their upcoming projects and how they are using the gifts and talents that God has given them. Today's very special guest is us.
Yay.
We don't have a guest. No guest today.
No worries.
But it's for those of you who don't know, okay, I'm going to start this off with a little story. We recently had a podcast guest, and I'm not going to name who it is because I don't want to embarrass them. But we had a podcast guest recently not know that we were a mother and daughter duo.
Which is hard to imagine, but that's got to be on me because I was the one that was communicating with them via email.
It just feels obvious, and maybe nothing's obvious, but I just feel like that's an obvious thing. So we're going to name it here on this podcast, just in case our listeners don't know, or whatever. You are my biological mother.
Yes.
And we have been working together for a very long time. There are so many wonderful things about working together, and then there are some really challenging things, some tough things about working together. And so I just thought it would be fun for us to, it's very unique. Yeah. Not everybody works with a parent or a child. And so.
Well, and I just read that there are now 2 million podcasts in the world.
Wow.
Because they need another one.
Right.
But almost none of them, and maybe none of them, are mother-daughter duos.
Oh, we are one. We know of at least us and one other maybe.
Well, I'm just saying that every time I bring that up
it's just really unique
in a room, they're like, wow, that's cool. How fun is that for you? So yeah.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Well, so I just think it's important that we say that people know that.
Yeah.
Because that's a very unique part of how we do what we do and why we do what we do.
Amen.
And so, I just wanted to maybe talk about, we'll get into some of the tough parts and the hard parts, but also the good parts. We'll end on the good parts. How about that?
Okay. That works.
But at first, I just kind of want to talk about some of the different aspects of how we do what we do and maybe strengths and weaknesses and things like that. But I want to talk about creativity.
Okay.
I think creativity just comes into play so much with what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I have been creative forever. I just don't ever remember a time where I wasn't like trying to create something or
oh my gosh. You had paint easels.
Oh, I remember that. You guys bought me so many paint easels.
And you had a video camera, and you would pretend to interview people. And I'm like, where does that come from?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody in our house was interviewing anybody.
Yeah.
And your grandparents loved that. Oh, you were hilarious. But yes, you've been creative forever.
But you guys have always, like we talked about paint easels and cameras, you guys have just always been super, super supportive when it comes to my creative.
Train up a child.
But, if I seemed to lean towards art, you guys were like, okay, well, let's get her a paint set, or
right.
I don't know, just always, literally always, you guys have been supportive. Which has enabled me to really just feel like there's nothing I can't try. I think a big part of that is you guys, but another part of that is scriptural, right?
Right. Yes.
I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I believe that.
Right.
And, there's also, I don't know that I can do everything necessarily, but I definitely can try everything.
Right.
So, you guys just totally let me try everything, except swimming, which is fine. We don't have to talk about that, but, you know what I'm saying? You guys have always just done such a great job. And we'll talk about, I'm sure we'll do a podcast on training up a child eventually with, and things like that. But, what about you? So I feel like maybe in the last 10 years or so,
10 years,
you have really come into your own creatively. Were you creative growing up? I mean, I know you like to sing, but was that really it's now a big piece of your life? But like your day jobs and stuff have not really necessarily been creative as far as...
Not at all. I don't think I grew up believing that I could do anything I put my mind to. Resources were very limited, that kind of thing. I did sing at church, in the choir, at school, and, talent shows and that kind of stuff. I knew I was pretty talented there, but I never once ever thought, oh, I'll write a song to sing. I mean, never once. So, yeah, it wasn't really until I met you that I thought, maybe I could try this. So, it just came about. Your first screenplay at 17, and that was, shortly after that. And I was helpful in the story.
Oh, you guys read every draft and you've read every draft since.
Well, true of everything.
Yeah.
But it was at that point, it was like, oh, I kind of like to dabble. And, I did start a blog, The What If Mom, and
you were great at that. You loved that.
Yeah. Chronicled some of the funny little stories in our life, in our family's life, the LeJeune clan life. And, then I did try my hand at one screenplay so far. I got treatments for 3 or 4 others, but, really need to sit down and
hammer those out.
Maybe if there's a pandemic or something, I can write more. Anyway, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it was really when I met you, then I thought, well, let me try this because I really do have stories in mind.
Maybe that's why people don't know we're mother-daughter duos, because you say things like, when I met you. I'm just kidding.
Well, no, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying.
When I get...
You were totally an integral part of all of my creativity and everything I did. I mean, you helped me with lines. Every play I've ever been in or musical, you always helped me with my lines. I don't know that you were necessarily like giving me acting.
No, definitely not.
But, reading stories is.
Yeah. And being just a sounding board.
Yeah. And so, I just love that you have come into your own creatively, over the years. And I just think that that's really, really special. I think that's really cool.
Well, and I appreciate that. It is a little daunting when your daughter can do just about anything.
I'm sorry.
Don't stop.
But we're doing things together.
Right. Well, and that's awesome.
More often than not, it's together, unless it's something that I'm doing for my day job.
Right. Totally. But it's just that it's, you probably, you could sit down and write a song, or you could sit down and write a play, or you could sit down and write a book, or you could sit down and write a screenplay. I think you kind of lean towards screenplays because that's your genre. Yeah. And I don't, it's not so much that I couldn't do that. I just don't really have enough.
It's okay if you don't
interest.
Want to do it.
I did try writing a book once, and it was like, no. I loved writing the screenplay. I like the dialogue, and I like the action. And,
totally.
And it
same.
Yeah. So
but we started an arts ministry, which I just think is, and it's not necessarily an arts ministry, but it kind of started out that way. And so totally. I just think it's cool that you went the better part of your life so far not really tuned into your creative side, and now together we've really dabbled and done that. But along the same lines, this podcast is creative. You and I collaborate together on guest lists and things like that, but then separately we're using our gifts and talents to make the podcast, as far as like my technical side, getting the camera stuff and editing, and my personality being all hosty like, if you will.
Yeah.
And then, you are so creative, so talented on the admin side. That is a gift of yours.
Right.
And so you're booking guests, and you are communicating, corresponding with them back and forth. Right. And so, and not only that, but you're writing scripts for it. And so,
it's a good team.
It's totally a good team. And I feel like, you've stepped out of your comfort zone as far as like being in front of the camera and being a host.
Right.
But you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard from friends who've listened who have said, you guys have just such a great dynamic. And you guys just play off each other well. And so, you're holding your own, this part, I think this part is really out of your comfort zone.
Right.
But you've done such a great job with
Thank you.
And have more than pulled your own weight on it.
Thank you. Well, so as you're talking about creativity, though, probably my favorite thing that we do, that we collaborate on, are stories.
Yeah. We love writing stories together, or coming up with stories together.
Yeah. Story ideas. And usually it's fairly comprehensive. I mean, we could probably, by the time we're done,
outline it.
Have it outlined. Yeah. Right. And so, and we do that
on road trips.
Isn't that funny?
I love it. And that's the time that we're together the most.
Yeah. We've done one back and forth between North Carolina, and then we did the Waco trip to Magnolia stuff and the silos and all that. We wrote one then, and then we wrote one on the way to a wedding in South Carolina. And so
Louisiana. I mean, that's where you and I, except the trip to California, because we were dealing with Mother Nature.
Yeah, that's true.
But for the most part, you and I love writing stories together. And anytime I have a story, you're probably the first one I talk to about it. Easily the first one I talk to about it. And anytime a script gets a first draft, you're the first one I send it to. So
yeah,
And it's just, I trust your opinion. I trust your input. I'm very romantic about my work. And so maybe this is a good segue into some of the hard stuff that comes with working together.
Yes, we can do that. But let me just say one more thing.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't necessarily write a story on the way to California, we wrote the story of our trip to California.
Well, yes, that's true. That's fair.
But the other thing I wanted to say, that just really quick before we transition, is the other time that we get creative is when we have seen a movie.
Oh, yes.
Well, even whether it's a good or bad movie, if it's a good movie, we're inspired. Like 42, we walked out, and before we were out the door, you turned to me and you go, "We have to make a baseball movie."
Oh, 42 was such a good movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which is so funny because you say baseball movie about 42, which is a baseball movie, but it's not always like that. Like, I remember we went and saw The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock, and I just loved that movie. I thought that movie was so well written and so well done and so funny. And so when we left, it just feels like every time we go see a movie, we go out to eat to just like debrief and like come up with write a story. And so I remember that. So it's not always necessarily, and the story we came up with had nothing to do with that movie.
Right.
So it's not always baseball to baseball or
totally
whatever, but we're just always inspired by good work.
But we did write your brother's baseball story. Yeah. After seeing 42.
Yeah. And so I just think that you and I are inspired by true stories. We're inspired by really good storytelling,
especially if it's a true story. That's
I just said that.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So, yeah. Anyway, so what I wanted to say though is that I am fairly romantic about my work.
Right.
And so, and I'll be the first to admit this, and it's always been this way, but I haven't always been able to admit it, is that I have to be in the right mindset to receive creative critique. I'm just like treading on my words right now. I just don't take creative critique very well. I don't. And I'm okay with admitting that. I'm working on it with my therapist. But I will say that your critiques are always the ones that I want to hear, you and Dad. I always send you guys my scripts first, but I can be fairly romantic about it, and I can take it pretty hard, and I can be fairly unreceptive sometimes. And so I acknowledge that is a weakness that I have when it comes to our working relationship, is that I'm very romantic about my work.
So I don't know that I feel like we have an issue with that. I feel like that's more of an issue when you send it to someone else.
Oh, well, that's for sure.
Right. You send it to me, and I think you trust me. Yeah. And I'm never going to go crazy. I'm never going to go, oh, let's kill someone. Let's kill a character.
Right.
Right. I'm not going to do that. I know your vibe. I know where you're headed. Oftentimes, I don't always know. Sometimes there's a twist or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? I might say, well, what if you had this do this? It's just a slight thing. Just because we're in the zone.
And you're totally right. You and I don't have, it's not necessarily a problem.
Right.
But it has been in the past. In the past, there have been times where I just don't accept your critique very well. I'm trying to name it. I'm trying to name that being a mother-daughter duo is not easy all the time. Right. And for me, that's one of the hardest ones is swallowing my pride that I totally have, that I need to get rid of. And
I hear you. And obviously it's going to be in the reverse. So when I'm writing, you are, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think you're super creative, right? And it's just, everything just flows and it's inspired. And when I write, it's very cerebral. Mine's not probably as emotional as yours is. Not in a bad way, but just those are the ways we're wired. So when you have a critique of me, I'm like, she hasn't thought through where this is headed and why I needed to say that word or that situation. So I'm the same way. It's like,
don't touch my work.
Don't you dare.
I want your opinion, but don't touch it.
Well,
which is not good because
you always come up with great ideas.
Well, and yes. We make each other better, and so that I would say that is a challenge that we have sometimes. I think. What else do you find is troublesome?
Well, troublesome might be too strong of a word. But this is one thing I've thought of. I heard a speaker talk about this probably 2 years ago or so. And he and his brother are filmmakers, and they were constantly butting heads. And we've made one film together, and I don't really feel like we butted heads.
No, at least not
hardly at all.
No, yeah.
But they were both wanting to direct and both wanting to write and whatever, and they were constantly at odds. And he recommended a book, and I read it. And while it was applicable in some ways, one of the things that I learned from reading that is, and I already knew this, you're the creative and I'm the administrative, right? We've known that since you were 8, don't you think?
Yeah, but I think that there are times where I can be administrative.
Oh,
and there are,
yes.
I feel like we're trying to, at least more recently, really let you tap into or give you opportunities to tap into the creative side.
No, I agree, but just
in general,
yes,
sure. I can get on board with that.
When things just,
yes,
we're an emergency, you're going to be creative and I'm probably going to be administrative. Now, I know, I mean, you're uber administrative, so I'm not discounting that at all.
I hear you though.
But like say on a movie set.
Yeah.
It really wouldn't, it would be better for me to produce and for you to direct.
Right. I hear you.
That just is a natural delineation. So all my life, on Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENTJ. On the Enneagram, I was a 3 wing 2. But you have just as strong an opinion.
You're
strong
a 2 wing 3. You're so
See,
cute.
Isn't that funny? You change it, even though when I tested, I was a 3 wing 2.
That's not what Jesse and Brooke said.
Or you.
Or me.
I know, but there's got to be some validity to what I think.
That's fair.
But this is what I'm talking about right here, because I even though I have this super strong personality, I've been the bull in the china shop for all my life, running departments and doing things well. I was a director of admissions at one college and we doubled enrollment, and we were, in my last job, we were number 1 in the nation for multiple years in the field that we were in, across the whole nation. And, I'm just really second doesn't count. You got to be in first place or, it just doesn't work. But because you are just as strong a personality, I have watched me, and I don't want to say take a back seat because that's too strong, but acquiesce. I probably should have been this way a little bit better with other people, but I'm more willing to do that with you. So when I'm a 3 wing 2 and my kids say, well, no, you're a 2 wing 3, I just kind of let it go because I am at home. I'm definitely a 2 wing 3, but at work, I'm a 3 wing 2. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to get the job done, and I'm a bottom line person, and I don't really want a whole lot of communication about it. Let's get busy, that kind of thing. So it's just funny. At home, I'm far more willing to adapt.
Well, along the same lines, what you just were saying, we're the same personality types. It's very similar. You're, what'd you say, an ENTJ? And I'm an ENFJ.
Right.
Feelings.
Thinks, all I do is think about it.
So, and then I'm also a 3 wing 2.
Right.
And so you and I are very similar in personalities. And that, I would say, is another challenge.
Yes.
Is that we both, it's good and bad.
Well, we both want to be right.
We both are right is the problem. Is we're both right, probably. And it's so, it can be very challenging to look at you and think, man, you're just like me, and I'm so frustrated. And I know why. It's because you're like me. And then I think, man, I must be really frustrating. And so it's just funny. But there are so many things I would say in this world, because like when we're in family mode, we're talking about work a lot. But then also, but just as a mother and daughter, we haven't always gotten along. I went through my teen years,
right?
So, and we haven't always seen eye to eye on theology and all kinds of things. And so there are ways just personally that you and I differ.
Right.
And sometimes that gets carried into work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes work differences carry over to the personal life. And so, it's just this, you and I, just because we're the same person, this is where it comes in handy, is you and I are both able to see end goal.
Yes.
Really, really well.
Right.
And in the moment, even if we're really upset or if something is not going our way and we are frustrated in that moment, you and I both know that this is not going to last forever.
Right.
You and I can get heated.
Yes.
And then one of us will call.
Yes.
We know it's going to happen, and we know we're going to be fine, and we're going to move on because we both can see end goal. I think that's or end game, and either way, either one works.
Both works.
So I just think that that's a really cool thing about having a similar personality type and having a similar, I'm going to put this in quotation marks, but similar worldview.
Yeah. And work ethic.
And work ethic. Like, no matter how much we fight, there's a job that has to be done. We're going to have to get together and podcast. And I know I say, no matter how much we fight, we don't fight that often.
No.
Especially since working together. I feel like that has actually, I feel like we have some tense conversations surrounding work and what is the best way to move forward. But our personal relationship has gotten a lot stronger and is a lot less volatile than, say, our normal mother-daughter relationship would be if we weren't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally, I agree. Well, you kind of named it yesterday, and we haven't really talked about this.
What happened yesterday?
You said, or maybe it was the day before yesterday. You said, "I'm really not in boss mode," and I thought, we only have conflict when we're both in boss mode.
Boss mode, yeah. But we're both in boss mode 90% of the time.
Right. Well, because of our personalities and our talents and our gifts.
Yes, totally. And there are just times where I just, especially when it comes to like admin stuff, I just want you to tell me what you need and then let me be your support staff, so to speak.
Right. And it works both ways.
Yeah.
It's just funny. I guess I've had to learn, and this is a weird thing to say because it seems cliche, but I've just had to pick my battles. If there's something that it's super important to me, I will be patient and quiet, but then I will bring it up. Otherwise, I'm letting it go because I don't have to be the boss anymore. I don't know why.
But I don't have to be the boss.
Well, you're still a 3-wing 2. And I am transitioning to 2-wing 3.
What? You just had this whole big conversation.
No, I'm talking about at work, right? At work, I'm a 3-wing 2. This is work. So I'm having to transition work to 2.
So you're saying I'm a bull? I've bullied you into acquiescing?
No.
That's what it feels like.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying our relationship is more important to me from here on out than ever being right.
Well, me too.
I would agree. Okay. I would agree.
I'm saying I need to transition to a 2-wing 3.
Please don't. Please.
I just don't know where you're going.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
I'm just saying I'm learning these lessons where I don't always have to be the boss.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and there are times where I can't be the boss.
Well, and you said that the other night. You're like, just decide. I'm like, I'm all over that.
Yeah. And I'm hoping as we continue to work together, that's just what's going to happen.
Right.
It's just there are going to be times where you step up and I'm going to step down and vice versa and things like that.
Well, and right now you're working on so many projects.
I know. I'm very spread thin. And so I
Yes.
really have given you a lot of the reins that I probably would have at least tried to keep a little bit of otherwise.
Yeah. So it's seasons of life, chapters.
But our audience just got a nice little glimpse into what can happen sometimes, or
you just want clarification.
I want clarification because I'm a little bit offended.
Yeah, I didn't mean to offend you.
No, I'm fine. It just was
Good.
That was fun. Right? That's part of it. Well, so real quick, I just want to talk about the positives. I don't want to end on that. I want to talk about just how life-giving it is to work with you. It's it has drawn me closer to God. It has strengthened our personal relationship. I mentioned that, but it really has.
Yeah.
It aligns us. I don't know. There's just something that's very special and unique about it that not everybody can do. Not everybody can work with a family member.
Right. For sure. And I mean, I've was talking with a young lady who's a filmmaker, and I said something about that we were working on a film, and she was like, I would never work with my mother on anything. And I thought, how sad that was her first reaction, right?
Yeah. Well, but and I hear that's it's sad because we do work together and it is so life-giving and we love it.
Right.
But there are just some dynamics that really wouldn't work well together. And that's not a negative thing, that's just a fact.
Right.
If our personalities really were not well aligned,
right,
it might not work out as well as it does.
But I do think you mentioned this a bit ago. We've gotten so much closer in the last probably 2 years. And I really want to name that and speak truth about. I feel like that's because we get together every single day and pray. Yeah,
we pray together every day, over the ministry and over what's going on in our lives. And so, I mean, that in and of itself has been what has strengthened us. Yes. But I also think we are just in constant communication.
Well, that too. I mean,
constant communication because of the ministry that we're trying to do and build and grow and the stories we want to tell. And so, I wish I could just pinpoint all of these specific things like that are really, really great about working with you. And I probably could if I had time, but I really just overall, it's just life-giving.
Yeah.
It brings joy. It brings me joy.
Well, and think about it from my perspective, right? Moms out there are following their kids' careers and they're so proud of them, right?
Yes.
And I get to follow your career daily.
Along with me.
Right. So your wins are my wins and your challenges are my challenges. And oh my gosh, that's so fun. I'm sure there are moms out there going, are you kidding me? You're 18, there's the door. I don't feel like that at all, right? I mean, we do live 3 hours apart. Yeah. So, it's not like I'm over at your house every day.
Right. Yet. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
But there
someday
is...
we'll have an office and that will be great.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It will be nice someday. But anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought.
No, go ahead.
I just feel like overall it's wonderful. It's hard, but in a good way. Like it's the kind of hard that I want. If I'm going to have hard, that's the hard I want. I want the hard that is going to strengthen my family and to make us better, a better mom and a better daughter. And it's going to help me be a better mom to my daughter someday. I don't have a daughter, but if and when the Lord gives me one, it's very, very special to me. And I'll always be grateful for it.
Yeah, I totally concur.
I remember when we made Sway, when the article, we had like one newspaper article written about us. It was really cute. But the headline was Mother-Daughter Duo Makes Independent Film or something like that.
Oh no, takes Hollywood.
Yeah. It was like something super grandiose or something, whatever. And I just loved that. I think it was the first time that we had really really captured the phrase mother-daughter duo. Right. And obviously we don't coin that. There are lots of mother-daughter duos, but we just really clung to that. And over the years, it's looked at many different, it has looked different in many, many ways. But now this fits really well. This podcast, the ministry. I feel like we've created this really great thing. And I
totally agree.
And so, I don't know necessarily what I want to inspire our listeners to do, but we'd love for you to pray for us as we continue to do
that. Would be helpful.
We need lots of prayer. We need lots of support. We need volunteers because we can't do it all.
Right.
You and I are trying to do it all, and it's is part of the things that's taxing on us. But I want to encourage you to the partners that you do have in work, to always seek the best in them and believe in them and encourage them, because that's what you and I have always done together.
Oh, most definitely.
And pray together if you can. I think that has been the key to us working together successfully.
Well, and just to add to that, for the parents out there, you might not be thinking, I really want to work with my kids, but it's so incredibly important. We've said this multiple times in multiple podcasts. You have been given the responsibility to train them up in the Lord, but also in their careers. Yeah. And it's not, I want you to become an insurance agent because I was an insurance agent. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about finding their talents, their God-given gifts, and what are the things that they can do to give back to their family, give back to their community, to spread the good news of Jesus, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the end goal. I hear people's stories all the time about, I'm going to do this and this and this. And I always want to say, to what end? Mm-hmm. To what end? Our goal isn't to have the top 10 podcasts in the world. Yes, right. It's not.
No, it's not.
We would be in trouble. Yeah. But the idea that maybe something we share would get someone interested in reading their Bible and learning about Jesus. Yeah. And, or we mentioned, your pastor was our second guest. Yep. And technically he was our first guest because our first guest was us. Right. So fair. But, maybe getting somebody plugged into that church or
a church of any kind.
Any church. Yes. I mean, it's a resource on our website. Yeah. You can find a church anywhere in area. Anywhere in America on our website. I think it's even by denomination. I could be wrong. But, just that whole idea of, what is the end goal to bring people to know Jesus? Amen. So, encourage each other, partner together, cooperate, collaborate, create. That's what we're trying to do with this. And if it ends up that you're partnering with your kid, awesome.
Great.
There's about 600 movie-making brother pairs out there in the Christian film world.
Well, and for the regular film world, too.
That's probably true. And maybe it's not 600, maybe it's 60. But, how fun would it be to have a little bit of success in that field as a mother and daughter team? That would be great. The other thing, I don't know if you've noticed, and we just did this, is that we finish each other's sentences from time to time.
Yes.
Because we have very similar brains.
Yeah. Which is awesome.
It's fun.
Well, you guys, thank you so much just for listening to us chat a little bit about what we do and how we do it. We have a very special relationship that has taken a really long time to get there. But again, I think the key is prayer within any working relationship. You just have to pray for them and with them. And that's the encouragement I want to leave you with. And
amen.
We're so grateful to you guys for just taking a listen, and just hopefully everybody knows now you're my mom, and I'm proud. I'm proud of it.
Yep, I'm with you. For more information on Project Brickworks and how you can get involved, visit us online at projectbrickworks.org. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Like our Facebook page, and if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit the subscribe button, give us a like, and turn on notifications. If you're listening to this on a podcast, please subscribe and be encouraging with your rating, please. We love you all. Be blessed, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.